Hello little ones, Appalonia The Storyteller here. This evening's story is My Two Grannies. And this is also for a special little girl called Macy. Alvina had two grannies who she loved with all her heart. They were called Granny Vero and Granny Rose. Granny Vero was born on the Caribbean island of Trinidad, and Granny Rose was born in the Yorkshire town of Barnsley. Now they both lived in the same city as Alvina and her parents. This is Granny Vero and this is Granny Rose, and these are her parents. Alvina always looked forward to visiting her grannies because she loved hearing the stories they talked about when they were little girls. Tell me about Trinidad again, Alvina begged. Don't you ever get tired of hearing the same stories, Alvina? Granny Vero said. Never, said Alvina. When I was your age, we would go to the beach and splash around in the tropical sea, said Granny Vero, with a big smile on her face. We never wanted to come out of the warm water. I would love to do that, Granny V, said Alvina. Well, one day I'll take you to Trinidad, darling, said Granny Vero. I promise. That's a nice promise. When Alvina saw Granny Rose, she asked, did you swim in the sea all day when you were little? No, lovey, laughed Granny Rose. The sea in Blackpool was much too cold, but we did play on the beach all day long, ride on the donkeys. We must all go to Blackpool one day, so you can do that too. Oh, yes, please, said Alvina. This must be a picture of her granny when she was a little girl riding the donkeys. Both grannies loved to play music on their old record players, and Alvina loved listening to it. Granny Rose played brass band music. This music always reminds me of when we used to go to the park on Sundays to listen to the local brass band. On May Day, we would watch the Morris dancers fling their arms in the air and jingle the bells on their legs as they twirled around the maypole to the music. Let's try it, Granny asked, said Alvina, and they both fell exhausted into a heap of laughter when they tried to do the Morris dance. So there's them trying to do the Morris dance. Granny Vero's favourite music was calypso and steel pan. This is what they used to play in Trinidad, Granny Vero explained to Alvina. It always made me want to dance in the streets at carnival time. Come on, Alvina, shake your waist while you dance. Like this, Granny V? That's right, darling. So she's dancing with Granny Alvina now. One day, Alvina's two grannies were at her house for tea. Alvina's mum said, it will be our 10th wedding anniversary next month. Why don't the two of you go away together? I'll be more than happy to look after Alvina, said Granny Vero. No, I will look after her. She can come and stay with me, said Granny Rose. The two grannies argued and argued about who would look after Alvina. So Alvina said, why don't you both stay here and look after me? The two grannies frowned at each other but agreed. Yes, they would both look after Alvina. I think Alvina done a good thing there. She doesn't want any problems. The day arrived when Alvina's parents were going off on holiday. Have a nice time, said Alvina, hugging her mum and dad tightly. We're going to miss you, said Mum. Be a good girl for your grannies, said Dad. I will, said Alvina. Don't worry, I will look after her, said Granny Vero. And so will I, says Granny Rose. I think they both want to look after her. As they waved their parents goodbye, Alvina said, let's play a game. We can play dominoes. We can play snakes and ladders. Alvina didn't know which game to play first, so she said, shall we go for a walk? Let's go to the park. We can feed the ducks. We can go to the zoo and see the agouti and the toucan. Poor Alvina, she's really trying. Alvina didn't know what to do, so she asked, shall we have something to eat first? I'll cook a lovely steak and kidney pie with mashed potatoes and carrots. No, let me cook some rice and peas with chicken and plantain. Alvina couldn't decide who should cook, so they got something out of the freezer. I think she's trying to please both of them, isn't she? At bedtime, the two grannies both wanted to tell Alvina a story. How about dear Nancy's story? Said Granny Vero. Or I could tell you the story of Jack and the Beanstalk, said Granny Rose. Poor Alvina. She didn't know which story to choose, so she said she was too tired to hear a story and went to sleep. I think she was pretending. She just didn't want to hear anything. The next morning, when Alvina got up, she had an idea. She sat down with the two grannies at breakfast table. Granny V and Granny R, I love the things you both do for me, so why don't you take it in turns? Granny V can do everything one day and Granny R can do everything the next day. And that's what's happened. They all played dominoes the way Granny Vera did when she was a little girl. Afterwards, Granny Vera cooked peas and rice, chicken and plantains with mango flan for pudding. This is lovely, Granny V, said Alvina, tucking in. Very nice, said Granny Rose. You must give me the recipe. They went to the zoo and saw the agouti and the toucan. The animals Granny Vera had seen in the forest as a girl in Trinidad. It must have been wonderful to see those animals in the wild, said Granny Rose. See them? They look amazing, don't they? That night, Granny Vera told an exciting Anansi story. Anansi would turn himself into a spider whenever he was in trouble, she said. Or if he wanted to play a trick, chirped in Alvina, who couldn't help but join in. That Anansi sounds very crafty, said Granny Rose. He is, said Alvina, with eyes as wide as saucers. Alvina gave both her grannies a big hug and fell fast asleep with a smile on her face. The grannies smiled too. There she is, sleeping. She just heard the story from her Granny Vero. The next day, it was Granny Rose's turn. They played snakes and ladders. Down the snake I go, said Granny Rose. Never mind, Granny R, said Alvina. You won the last game. Then they went to the park and Alvina fed the ducks. That duck is greedy. He's eaten all the bread, laughed Alvina. I'll give him some too, said Granny Vero. This is fun. See? They're feeding the ducks. Granny Rose cooked steak and kidney pie with mashed potatoes and carrots and apple pie for pudding. You must show me how to cook steak and kidney pie, said Granny Vero. It's delicious. There she is, cooking steak and kidney pie. At bedtime, Granny Rose told the story of Jack and the Beanstalk. Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Alvina and Granny Rose said together, I like that part of the story, Alvina said. Run, Jack, run. Yes, run, Jack, giggled Granny Vero. The two grannies took turns for the rest of the week to look after Alvino. They really got to know each other better. Look. Fee, fi, fo, fum in big letters. When Alvina's parents came from holiday, she was excited to see them. "Did you have a nice time with your grannies?" said Mum. "Oh yes," said Alvino. "We had lots of fun. They both made me feel so special." "That's because we love you," the two grannies. And they gave her a great big hug. This is her two grannies. She's so lucky to have two fun grannies. And that's the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it, Macy. So I'll see you again, okay? Good night.